Hi guys, welcome to another edition of Twitch Abridged. This is the second part of the Make a Thing clicker game streams, and we're going to quickly have a look at the basic versus the polished games before we jump into actually building the polished one. Hope you enjoy the video. Okay, so you've got the basic clicker game on the left hand side, and we have the more polished one on the right hand side. Our basic one was great for its intended purpose, which was just to try and build a clicker really quickly to show how you can sort of get a basic thing running. But it still had the Unix time stuff, so we could see how much time had passed between the app being suspended and resumed, which was nice. We had a saving and loading system, granted that was mostly disabled when testing to make my life easier. And we had our multipliers and other bits and pieces. And you could still upgrade your products to change things around, so when you hit a certain amount of currency, you could up the level of a product and it would earn more for you, which was really nice. However, in the polished one, there's a little bit more going on. So already you can see down the bottom here, we've got a HUD with a shop, we've got a nice tile map, we've got different areas, everything's all in one big map now. Immediately it looks nicer. We pop into the event sheet. The touch panning now works, so we can scroll around the layout with our thumbs, but it won't work if you're hovering over the HUD, which is great because you don't want to be swiping while the shop's open. We've got what I call the bonus robot, which if you find him, he'll either add to your tap number or to your multiplier. The display now works correctly so that you can show, if it's under 1,000, it will show as 1,000, but as soon as you go over that, it starts to show the units. So you've got K for 1,000, mil for million, and so on and so on. Unix time's back, saving and loading's back. But yeah, now you have, if we pop back to the layout, we can have a look at our shop. So there's now separate buttons for each upgrade. It'll show the relevant cost. 4 products to buy. It's just a lot more going on, and it looks nicer, it plays nicer, and I have tested this on a phone and it does work. So we'll do a quick preview. I will show you the project as it is, and then we'll get going on trying to build it. So there we go. So we have a blank layout. We can look around. There's a little pen here, another pen down here. Maybe we can buy some animals. Little pond to look nice in the middle, just to break things up. Our current multiplier is 1 times, and this is how much money we have. So if we click, you'll see we're getting more currency, but if we don't click, then it's just going up over time as well. Click on the shop button, opens our shop. None of these things are purchasable, but now that we've got 50, this one's lit up, so we can buy it. We bought ourselves some carrots, and now some flower beds have appeared. And what's this guy? The robot I've put in as a sort of little bonus, so every now and again, the timers are very small for testing at the moment, but every now and again he'll appear on the map, and if you click on him before he disappears, you get either an increase to your multiplier or to the number of taps you gain per second. So on that occasion we're still at 1 time, so we've obviously got more taps per second. We've actually got a bit more money now, so we can either upgrade our carrots or we can buy some chicks. Let's buy some chicks. There we go, got a little chick in our pen now. So this is level 1, this is level 1. Upgrade our carrots to level 2, they're level 2. And you kind of get the idea. So as you buy more things and increase their level, you earn more from them, you earn more in total, and that's kind of the aim of a clicker, right? Just earn lots and lots of money. So that is the long and short of this project. Let's see if we can build it. I'm going to do what I did to build this demo, which is kind of, I started with this, stripped it back, got rid of what we didn't need, and eventually made it so that it worked like this. So let's get started, shall we? We need to get in some more variables so we can do things like touch. So we need variables for touch. I believe that's everything. Currency, tap number, multiplier. Yep. Got our Unix time ones. That's everything. Cool. Okay, let's start by getting rid The easiest thing to get is just get rid of all of this. To display the numbers correctly, we tried to use a dictionary last time, and it was fine in that it displayed the unit of thousands, which was fine, but unfortunately it didn't seem to work when we wanted to increase that to millions. So we replaced the dictionary with an array, which I can just have a quick look at here. So that then draws on a new variable called log multiple, and the tutorial I mentioned in the last video goes through the maths behind this. So again, I'll stick the link in the description of the YouTube video. There's not much I can do for you on Twitch now, but if you're watching on YouTube, this will be in the description. So the log multiple is the log multiple of 3 of the current currency value. So there is a big maths thingy that will turn up a number. So for values of, if the number of currency is between 0 and 999, that value is 0. For that, we don't need to display anything, which is why the array cell here, 00, is blank. For 1,000 to 999,999, that's a multiple of 1, which is the equivalent to thousands. So we want to show that as k. And so on for million, billion, and we only go as far as trillion because that's... I don't feel like we need to go any further than that. I don't think we're going to earn as much money as that, but we'll see. So that's where that comes from, and why we have an array here where it was a dictionary last time. So let's try and make this touch stuff work, shall we? So to make sure our touch system works properly, we need to implement a dead zone on the touch layer. And this is just going to be a grey box. And actually I am going to turn the grid on. It's working. I'm just used to working in grids now, and it makes my life easy. And we're sort of in a 32 by 32, and it roughly works. So now we want to be able to see underneath that because we need to see where we're working. So I'll make that 25% opacity. And that is our touch dead zone. So in theory, if you're touching the screen over that point, you shouldn't be able to swipe the world. That's the plan anyway. So on any touch start, we need to add another condition that says we're not touching the dead zone. So we just invert that. Then sub-events. Is our touch pan ID equal to -1? In that case, we need to set the value of touch last x to touch.x on the touch layer. Copy and paste that and do the same for y. And we want to set our touch pan ID to touch.touch ID. Okay. So if our touch pan ID does not equal -1, not equal, then we need to scroll Okay, that should scroll to the correct place. Then we need to reset our touch last variables. Copy and paste and change that to touch Y. Okay, and then on any touch end, add another condition if our touch pan ID, oh nope, that's a variable, touch pan ID is equal to touch.touch ID. Then we want to set the touch pan ID back to -1, signifying the end of the swipe. There we go. Now just need to do a little bit of rearranging. I'll leave the touch layer at the top. So these two need to be on the UI layer. Our UI layer should be a 0 parallax layer, as should shop, because we don't want it to move. We're actually going to have our HUD down the bottom here, so let's move these down. Actually, let's make the objects first, then I'll add the families. Okay. We're on the game layer, this is fine. These are just going to be simple sprites. Now I think we start with our first product. A little bit more orangey. That'll do. Is carrot. So this is going to be signified by, I'm just going to change that so it lines up with the grid properly. There we go. So this is our carrot base. The reason we have bases, it just makes things easier to store the variables associated, so level, product type, all those kinds of things are easier stored on the base. Make it 50 so we can actually still see it. Okay, so we have our carrot base. Let's clone that. This will be our second crop, which is a tomato. Oh. So, the little areas of our farm now for different products, which will eventually have little animations and stuff to go with them to show you what level your product is. All of those bases are going to need some instance variables. Quickest way to do that, in my opinion, is to put them all into a family and give that family the instance variables. We only have to do it once. So we need level. We need passive tap, which is the number of taps this product will earn without you doing anything, so just over time. And then we need active tap, which is the number of taps you'll earn every time you hit the product. So if it's 5 and you tap the product base, then you'll earn £5. So let's go and adjust our passive earnings to reflect that new thing. So every 1 second, we'll leave it at that, we want to add to our currency. We want tap number plus all of that multiplied by the multiplier. There. So that's all we need in our passive earning now. This can move, or we'll just get rid of it for now. So passive earning, we then need another group for active earning. This is going to be where we have all of the stuff denoted to each product. You can see I've broken it down here into little groups. There's the generic thing at the top here, and we have our groups at the bottom. So we'll add our first event, which is the on tap. We want to make sure that when you're tapping, you're not touching certain things, like the bases family. Then we want to, again, add to our currency, and we have tap number multiplied by the multiplier. However, if you are touching the bases, or a specific base, then you need to do tap number plus bases.activeTap and multiply all of that by the multiplier, which should mean you get different amounts depending on where you tap the screen. So let's add the rest of our groups into here. I suppose we should probably actually make our product, shouldn't we? So let's go back in here. I'm going to lock these because otherwise we're going to keep pressing them and it's going to be very irritating. So let's drop in a new sprite. There we go. That's quite big. I don't think it needs to be that big. So we'll make it the size of one of the squares. Just quickly. It's quite nice being on the middle because it's slightly offset with the base. So you've got a little bit of space around the base to actually tap and it'll still register. We'll leave that there. That needs a name, which is carrot. clone that, and that'll be our tomato, which will go down the bottom here. Then Sprite, drop one in over here. There we go. Again, a little large, so but it needs to be bigger than the crop, so I'm gonna make it 64 by 64. Rename chick. Clone that, which will be the pig, and we'll just go and change the animation. Excellent. And now we can have him down here if we want to. So, starting with the carrot, you can see we've got different things defined for different levels, so we need to do that. To start with, if your level is 0, then you've not bought the product yet, so it's pointless in having it on the screen. So, all you need to say is when the carrot base, when its level is equal to 0, then we want to set any carrot products to invisible. However, as soon as we hit level 1, we need to make those visible, and we need to set some variables. So we need to set, and these are completely arbitrary numbers, I just picked them randomly. We need to set our passive tap, we need to set our active tap. We don't have an animation frame at the moment, so we can leave that for now. And to avoid the rather amusing problem we had with the last time we streamed this, we will add a trigger once so that our things don't keep being reset. That is a blank sub event, I thought it was. Then just do the same for the other two levels. Okay, so that's literally all we need until we add the rest of the things in. For now, that'll do. So we can copy that, paste it into our tomato group, and just do some replacing. Replace the carrot base with the tomato base, and replace the carrot product with the tomato product. To be fair, we can paste it into all three of these, chick and pig, but there will be some tweaks need to be made for the animals. They act in a slightly different way. And to do that, we need again to create another object, which is just going to be a little black square. We get 16 by 16. Actually, no, we will make it 32 so it lines up, because we want it to be in the middle of a square. And these will be our spawn points. Clone that, rename it as pig spawn. So the idea is when you upgrade your animal products, you get another little animal in your pen to match what level it is. I thought it was quite cute anyway. So the spawn points, I should have done this before I clone the object, but never mind, have a spawn ID, so that when we say that we then use a count function to check what level it is and therefore how many they should be spawned and where they are spawned. Let's look at our chick. We don't need a level 0 event because there's nothing there. We don't need to set the visibility. We do need to set our passive and active counts though. If our spawn point, if its ID is equal to the number of chicks on the screen, again trigger once, then we want to make that chick spawn, or the chick spawn point, spawn another object, chick on the game layer at image point 0. So that's how it differs slightly between the animals and the crops. It's nice to have a little bit of variation. Right, let's just change the values for our tomatoes. What did I use? Cool. And finally our pig. So let's grab that. So we can get rid of that one. Get rid of that one. Pull that under there. Replace the chick spawn with the pig spawn. and replace the chick object with the pig object. Collapse all of those, because active earning. There's just one more thing we need. You'll see in the right hand project we have a thing here which is the shop button. Part of this whole new project is that we have a shop where players buy the upgrades. Rather than having a button that just appears on the screen, we have a shop. So let's add a few more bits to our HUD so we can start building that. We use Sprite. Okay, it's got a little button there, which is going to be our shop button. The shop button needs a boolean, which is the shop open or not? And then we want to add, just to make it look nice, now which one did I use? That one. There we go. There we go, we have a little button there. Whew. So let's add that extra condition to our tap here. We want to say that it's not touching that shop button. Cool. No, we'll build the shop first. So first thing we'll do is we'll say the shop is a global layer. We'll build a new layout, which is our object bank, and we need to just give it another layer called shop. First thing just needs a background, which can be anything. I literally just filled it with color for time, just to make sure it all lines up properly. We'll make UI a global layer as well, because we want to be able to see that little bit at the bottom when we have the shop open as well. First thing we need are some buttons. So this is our purchase button. Players will click on this and that will allow them to buy stuff. Much better. Okay, we also want a text box, which is our product name. And we want another one, which is our product cost. Final thing we need is one more text object, which is our button text. Actually, just I'm gonna call it our P button text, because we also want some text for our shop button as well. So we have the basics of a shop there. We just need to get some information into it. Now I will have to quickly look at how the instance variables were all laid up. Yes, so our purchase button needs quite a few. We need type, which is a string, cost, and display cost. Now the reason we have two cost variables is because when you display it, when you start to get to the large numbers, you don't want to have, 50,000 all in digits underneath that little button. So we need the display cost variable to be a string, so we can say rather than 50,000 in digits, we display 50k. But we still need the number variable to be able to subtract that from the currency global variable. This one is a caret. Its level is 1. Button ID can be 0. Cost is 50. Now, just to remind you, in order to get to the buttons below my text objects, I'm holding down the tab key as I click, so we click through the text box. A nice little trick for you constructors. Cool. So then we just need to set the text of these. Level 1. There we go. Okay, so we have our shop basically laid out here. Let's just quickly add in so we can open and close our shop. So the first thing we want to do is say that every time we tap the shop button, then we want to toggle the shop open boolean. If our shop open boolean is true, then we want to make sure that our shop layer is visible. And we want the opposite to be true if it's not. We don't want to be able to pan while we're in the shop. Set group, there we go. So we want to change the touch panning group so it's deactivated. But then we want to reactivate it when we're not in the shop. We need to make sure our purchasing is enabled but disabled when the shop is closed, because otherwise you might inadvertently, because the shop layer is always there, if the purchasing group is active, we'll create it in a minute, then you can still tap on a button accidentally as you're tapping and you'll end up purchasing things that you didn't realize you'd purchased. So let's add a subgroup, which is going to be our purchasing area. There we go. Okay, now because there's a lot of buttons, we're going to need to start using for each conditions. We want to set our text for the product cost. Then, this is where our booleans start to come in. Check the condition. If it is bought, if it's not bought, sorry, then we want to say if currency is greater than or equal to purchase button dot cost, then we want to make sure the shop knows that this is it's now available to purchase. But if it's less than, then set it to false. Now currently we have no way to determine whether, other than looking at our currency and seeing if it matches the cost, we have no way of seeing quickly whether or not an object is available to buy. I did this in a really quick way, just by adding an effect. So we'll add a new effect called darken, and now we add another sub-event. If our button is listed as not available, then we want to enable that darken effect. But when it is available, we want to disable the effect so the button is nice and bright and we can see it. However, we also want to make sure that users can't repeatedly buy the same upgrade. So if it is bought, then we want to enable that effect again, and we want to set the text to sold. So we now need to say what happens when we tap on one of these purchase buttons. We need to add the condition that it is available so that you can only purchase things that you can afford. Add action, we want to subtract purchase button dot cost from currency, and now we need to add in our function, which is called complete purchase, which needs a parameter. I don't know if it does, but we'll put it in anyway. If button ID is equal to button ID, I will just quickly change the name of that. That's why I didn't call it button ID. Chosen button. There we go. Then we want to set that button to be bought. And now this is where we set the instance variables to the base, depending on what upgrade we bought. So if we've bought the level 2 upgrade, we need to make sure that the correct number, we need to make sure that the base is then set to level 2, not to level 3 or level 1. So we add a sub event. System, we need to pick by comparison. So we need to pick the base, where bases dot object type name is equal to purchase button dot type, and because the type currently doesn't include the word base, we'll stick that on the end. I could put that into type, but this works just as well. Bases, we need to set the level. to purchase button dot level. Now we can call this function whenever we click on a button. Purchase button dot button ID. That's the thing. So let's preview our layout and see what it looks like and make sure things are working. So we can scroll around. This is nice. But we can't scroll if we're on the HUD. I realise I have zeros in here, so we're not actually gaining any money. But we can open the shop. They're all kind of dark. We can close the shop. That's not picked correctly. Ah, that's what I haven't done. Containers. Containers are your friends. This is how it sets the text correctly. So we need to create a container that holds the button and the associated cost text. So now they're all highlighted there in their own little containers. There we go. Nice. So hopefully... There we go. Costs are all now set. Now, what I haven't done yet is lock our UI in our shop and hide them. We don't need to see touch either. We need to get rid of our chick and we need to get rid of our pig. Because to begin with, we don't need them on the layout. We only want them when they're bought. So to do that, we need to... Oh. Remember to select the right layers. So we want 3 pig spawns. And then the same for our chicks. So we have 0. That needs an ID of 1. And that needs an ID of 2. That can be ID 0. I'm going to make this one ID 1. And this one ID 2. Both our spawn objects, we don't need to see them, so we can turn them off as initially visible. Let's make these a little more like a big field of carrots. Given that it's only 20 to 3, let's add some more things into here. So let's make it look like our carrots are actually growing as we level them up. Need to add a frame first, add another frame. Thanks, OneDrive. Helpful. So that's our carrots. Do the same thing with tomato. There we go. Oh, lordy. That's better. Okay, so now we can add in a little bit of extra stuff into our levels. So on tomatoes, when they're level 2, we want to set their frame to 1. And then when they get to level 3, set the frame to 2. And we're going to do the same for the carrots. What I did for the chick and the pig, I gave them a little bit of a bounce while they're just sat there, just by resizing the sprite. It's not the most elegant way of doing it, but it worked. 136 and 120. Then we duplicate that and duplicate that. So that's all he does. It looks better on the smaller screen. Give him about 7 speed. We want it to loop. And we'll do the same for the pig. The one thing I haven't got in here, which I could do because we've got a little bit more space since I've not put the font in. What we shall do, unlock our UI level. Yeah, we've got space for another one, I think. So, not shop, HUD. Let's duplicate that one, which is current. Oh my goodness, I cannot spell. Current taps. And it just means that you can see how many taps you're earning per second. Now, where do we put that? I can't remember. I believe it's in here. Yes, it is. Add action, so we can actually copy that. Replace that with current taps. And we can change the text to pounds per second, tap number, and all of that. Hopefully that works. So one tap per second. Let's jump up. Let's get ourselves 55 so we can buy ourselves some carrots. Taps per second is now 6. If we up the multiplier to 2, that's now 12. That's better. That seems reasonable. That'll do. So we then can say in here, in the shop, when the shop is open, then we want to set our shop button text to back so that it shows you can go back to the main screen. When it's not open, it needs to say shop. Now, the one thing we don't want is to be able to see all of our bases. So our bases need to be initially invisible. Can I do that as a whole family? I can. There we go, we can't see our bases. We just have a random farm. One thing that I realise we don't have is currently any way to make the player go through buying each product. Okay, we need to go into our shop. So purchase button already has button ID. We can give the product cost a cost ID. And we can give the button text a button ID as well. Okay, let's see if this works. Another condition. So if the purchase button parents variable button ID is equal to, that'll be 1. That should be 1. Add action. Set visible. I'm just going to leave it at that and see if it works. So if we open the shop, there should be nothing there except our level 1s, which is fine. The buttons appeared. That's what we want. There we go. Now we just need to fill the rest in. Okay. So let's just have a quick look at that. Again, debug so we can give ourselves a ridiculous amount of money and immediately test everything. 1 million. Carrots. Excellent. Cool. Well, this is good. The only thing we've not got in here is our bonus robot. Okay. So first thing we need to do, we'll have a new subfolder for the robot. Add a new object type. There we go. Got a little robot. We want him to loop. Just rename him robot. And we need another object type, another sprite, which is another spawn object. Let's just drop a few of those around the map. 4. So there are 5 possible spawn points for our robot. The robot needs the timer behavior. That's how we manage where he pops up and when he pops up. Timer. So we'll say on start of layout, we want to start the robot's initial timer. We don't want him to appear immediately once you start the game. And for now, we'll say that for testing purposes, 10 seconds. Robot start. So, when the robot's start timer has expired, then we can actually start his bonus timer. We want it to be an integer, but random. Anywhere up to 10 seconds. So when the bonus timer expires, then we need to pick a random spawn point, and we want to set our robot's position to that spawn point. We need to make sure our robot is visible. Our robot needs an instance variable or 2 to tell us what kind of bonus it's going to give you and how much of a bonus it's going to give you. So when the robot is spawned, we want to set its value. Now, I'm going to use a choose thing, and I'm going to make it more likely that you'll get a taps bonus than you will a multiplier bonus. So you should get a 1 in 5 chance of getting a multiplier bonus. Then we want to set its value to choose, and for this we're just going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. And then we start another timer which tells us how long the robot is going to be on the screen for. And again, integer. And that's the I called it destroy in the other one, but we'll call it vanish. That'll do, because he doesn't actually get destroyed. You forget me brackets. Then, when our vanish timer expires, we need to set the robot to disappear. Oh. And start the whole cycle again. Then if you tap on the robot, while it's visible, then we want to stop the destruction timer, or vanish as it is in here. Stop the vanish timer and do one of 2 things depending on whether it's taps bonus or whether it's multiplier bonus. So we need to check first. Is it taps? If it is, then we want to add to tap number robot dot bonus value, set the robot to invisible, and then start the bonus timer again. Copy that and paste it. So instead of taps, we want it to be multiplier. We want to add bonus value to multiplier instead of tap and do the same thing. So yeah, there we go. We have our bonus robot. We have everything in place. Let's give it a full test. We've got our currency per second down here. We've got our current multiplier. We can open the shop. Can't buy anything. So let's get clicking. Oh, look, it's our robot. Oh, we got a +5 to our multiplier. That makes things a little easier. Let's buy some carrots. We can buy some chicks now. We have a little chick now. He's just chilling there. Upgrade our carrots. We can do it twice because we've got so much money. Now they're a little growing, they look lovely. Upgrade our chicks. Got another one. And there's our number 3. Buy some tomatoes. And we can buy some pigs. Here we go. Buy more pigs. And even more. Fully upgraded tomatoes. So the numbers are clearly a bit off. But as a concept, it works. It doesn't look beautiful, but hey, it functions, and that's the important thing. The only other things I've done in the actual proper polished one is change the font around and put a proper tile map in so that it looks kind of nice. Which I suppose we could do. We've got a little bit of time. We can mess about with the tile map a little bit. There we go. Random things that you can do with the tile map. Just to change the look of the game slightly. There's a sign, but there's no carrots. Okay. Let's give us some money. Then we can buy our carrots. And there you go. There by the sign. Got our robot. Very nice, very nice. So yeah, there you go, guys. That is how you turn a basic clicker game into a slightly more polished clicker game. And we're still... Okay, this is a lot more complicated, and yeah, we have, you know, a lot more events. It is a lot more complicated, but it looks nicer, it does a few more things, and it's more functional than the basic version we did a couple of weeks ago. It's been a nice chilled afternoon. Hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I really hope we'll see you next month for more streams. Have a good afternoon. Bye, guys.